Late in the evening, Abigail is practicing ballet in an empty theater while a group of criminals prepares for a strike. The hacker disables all the security cameras at Abigail's house, and a sniper takes position on the roof. When Abigail leaves the theater, her driver picks her up, unaware that the criminals have attached a tracker to the car. Once the car starts moving, the kidnappers follow. The hacker unlocks the house doors, allowing three criminals to slip into Abigail's bedroom and hide behind the furniture. Abigail arrives home and gets into bed, giving the criminals the opportunity to attack. One man tries to hold her down, but Abigail stabs his hand with a pencil. Another man steps in, covering her mouth as he restrains her. When the first man attempts to punch Abigail, the woman stops him, reminding him not to hurt a child. Instead, she injects Abigail with a sedative to make her sleep, while the criminals hurriedly put Abigail in a bag and sneak out through a window. As they cross the garden and regroup with a sniper, the house alarms go off, forcing them to make a quick getaway. Fortunately, the last two criminals pick them up just in time, allowing them to escape without further complications. Eventually, they reach their destination, an old abandoned mansion on the outskirts of the city. There, they meet with Lambert, the man who hired them. After handcuffing Abigail to a bed, Lambert reminds the team of the rules: no sharing names or personal histories, and no intimacy among themselves. It's a 24-hour job, so they need to guard Abigail until her wealthy father pays the $50 million. Lambert doesn't reveal who her father is, but collects everyone's phones to prevent any tracking. Before leaving, Lambert assigns each member a codename inspired by the Rat Pack. The team then relaxes with the mansion's supply of alcohol. Joey checks on Abigail, who complains about the tight blindfold. Joey covers Abigail's face to remove it and notices the handcuffs are hurting her, so she recuffs Abigail's hands in front. Seeing Abigail in tears, Joey assures her they don't intend to harm her. They only want the money, and Abigail makes her pinky promise. Joey shares that she has a son, and Abigail confides that the criminals have made a mistake, as her father doesn't care about her. Just before Joey leaves, Abigail ominously tells her she's sorry for what's about to happen to her. Uneasy, Joey tells Frank that Abigail's father might be dangerous. Frank dismisses it as Abigail trying to manipulate her emotions, but later, when no one is watching, he checks on Abigail. Shocked to find her without a blindfold, he quickly covers his face and aims his gun at her until she swears she hasn't seen him. Pressing her for information, she reveals her father is Christoph Laser. Alarmed, Frank returns to the group and announces he's leaving. The others demand an explanation, and Frank reveals that Abigail is the daughter of Christoph Laser, a notoriously dangerous crime boss. Joey and Rickles recognize the name and share Frank's fear. They argue about what to do and eventually decide to stay for the money, intending to use it to disappear and start new lives. Determined to avoid any surprises, they keep the perimeter secure and all doors locked. Later, Joey hears a noise and follows it to an open window. When she opens it fully, she notices a statue of a father and child. She bumps into Rickles, who clumsily tries to flirt with her. Dean then finds a sleeping Peter and draws a crude picture on his face. He then goes to the basement kitchen, where a door unexpectedly swings open. Entering the room, he's startled by a rat. As Dean tries to leave the basement, an unseen force suddenly grabs his legs and drags him back. Hearing his screams, Sammy rushes to the basement, where she finds Dean slumped over a table. As she approaches, his head rolls to the side, revealing a gruesome sight that makes her scream and vomit. The rest of the group arrives, agreeing that Sammy couldn't have done this alone. Growing more uneasy, the group checks on Abigail, who is still safely in her room. Despite this, Rickles is terrified and wants to leave. But when he opens the front door, he's shocked to find a second, barred gate behind it. Peter attempts to force it open, triggering a security system that seals every window. Realizing they're trapped, Joey suspects it was a setup all along. When Rickles tries to grab his weapon, he discovers it's gone. Joey, meanwhile, confronts Abigail, asking if she's seen anyone besides her and Frank, but Abigail swears she hasn't. She also claims that Frank threatened her, saying he worked for her father, and revealing his real name was Valdez. Joey relays this to Rickles, and they both sense something is wrong. Just as Joey is about to leave, she hears a strange sound. She turns to find Rickles standing awkwardly, and upon closer inspection, she realizes he's fatally wounded. His body collapses into her arms, and she stumbles back downstairs. A heated confrontation follows as Joey points her gun at Frank, who draws his weapon in return, claiming Abigail is manipulating Joey. He tells Peter to handle Abigail, so Peter heads to her room to kill her. Joey intervenes, disarming him, and Sammy and Frank arrive, escalating the argument. Just then, Abigail slips out of her handcuffs and stands, revealing her true form, a vampire. In one swift move, she lunges at Peter, poised to bite him, but Frank shoots her. To their horror, she heals instantly. Joey also shoots, but it's futile. The group flees and locks the door. Realizing that Abigail was Valdez all along, they assess their options. With magnetically sealed doors and windows, they are trapped, and Sammy lacks the necessary equipment to hack the system. The tension mounts as Peter grows increasingly agitated, causing Frank to snap and threaten him. The group decides to fashion makeshift stakes from pool cues, while Sammy searches the kitchen for garlic. Joey hesitates, arguing that killing Abigail could provoke her father's wrath. Once ready, the trio heads back to Abigail's room, only to find it empty. They follow the sound of eerie music to another room, where they find Abigail dancing with Dean's corpse. Feigning innocence, Abigail taunts them before Sammy lunges with garlic, which proves useless. Frank tries to help but is quickly overpowered, while Peter manages to lift Abigail briefly before she hurls him to the floor. She seizes Peter's cross necklace, driving it into his chest to make him bleed, revealing that crosses don't affect her either. Frank attempts a sneak attack, but is disarmed, taking a stab to his leg instead. Defeated, the trio retreats downstairs, where Joey helps them dress their wounds. Joey recalls that the sedative injection worked on Abigail before, and they still have a spare. They agree to split up, with instructions to notify Joey through their earpieces if anyone finds Abigail, so they can ambush her with a sedative. As they begin searching the mansion, Sammy finds herself in a narrow, dim corridor. Startled by a swarm of bats, she falls into a dark pool and, horrified, realizes it's filled with decaying bodies. She wades through them in a desperate bid to escape. Meanwhile, Abigail confronts Peter, who panics and locks himself in a room. However, Abigail shatters the door and pursues him, executing graceful yet menacing ballet moves. As Peter sprints down a corridor, Frank unexpectedly opens a door, accidentally knocking him over a railing. Abigail then turns on Frank, pushing him down the stairs before pinning him to the ground. Joey seizes the opportunity to inject Abigail, but the child swats her hand, sending the syringe flying through a locked gate. Sammy tries to restrain Abigail, but she retaliates by biting Sammy's arm, grabbing Frank by the leg, only for Peter to tackle her, causing her to drop Frank. Peter pins Abigail while Joey retrieves the syringe and injects her with a sedative. As Abigail succumbs to the effects, the group locks her in an elevator. Joey tells her that if she reveals the way out, they'll let her go. Abigail, however, smugly confesses that she orchestrated everything and that Lambert is actually working for her. To their horror, she demonstrates knowledge of each of their real names and backstories, recounting that Sammy's criminal career began by siphoning money from her wealthy family's accounts, eventually leading to a high-stakes target. It turns out that everyone here has wronged Laser or his gang in some way, and Joey accuses Abigail of killing her father's enemies to earn his affection. Abigail admits she didn't kill them immediately because she enjoys playing with her food. She offers to let two of them live if they release her, but when Frank proposes killing her instead, she angrily revises the offer to save only the one who frees her. Peter impulsively tries to release her, but Joey shoots him before he can, leaving Frank to guard Abigail while the rest of the group retreats. Alone with her, Frank promises to let her out if she tells him how to escape. Abigail directs him to pull an Agatha Christie book in the library to reveal a secret passage, but when Frank refuses to release her after learning the trick, Abigail breaks free, attacking him with a taunting dance. Joey arrives just in time, breaking the wooden planks from a window to let in sunlight, which scorches Abigail's hand and forces her to retreat into the shadows to heal. The group regroups in the library, and Sammy is relieved when sunlight has no effect on her, thinking she won't turn into a vampire. Frank pulls the book as Abigail instructed, but nothing happens. It was a lie. Frustrated, Joey tries to break down the wall but fails, growing anxious as she runs out of candy to calm her nerves. She confides in Sammy that she took this job to fund a new start with her son. Hearing the word reset gives Sammy an idea. If they find the power source, she can short the locks. The group splits up to search for it. Suddenly, Abigail plays music that takes control of Sammy through the bite, transforming her into a vampire. Sammy attacks Peter, biting him on the neck while Abigail speaks through her, tauntingly making Sammy dance in a macabre mimicry of Abigail's own movements. Joey and Frank arrive, and Sammy reveals her transformation, forcing them to flee. She chases them to the library, where Abigail uses Sammy's voice to explain her hatred for the room. Joey reflects sunlight from a tray onto Sammy, causing her to combust, and at that moment, a secret door opens. Although they suspect it's a trap, Joey and Frank enter the hidden corridor and discover the mansion's control room, where they encounter Lambert, also a vampire. Lambert reveals that Abigail turned him 2 years ago after she discovered his involvement in Frank's infiltration of the gang. He's been forced to lure her father's enemies here for Abigail's amusement, under threat to his family. With Laser already en route to the mansion, Lambert proposes a deal. He'll turn Frank if Frank agrees to help him take down Abigail and Laser. Frank agrees, so Lambert knocks Joey out and bites Frank, then forces him to drink his blood, initiating Frank's painful transformation into a vampire. Lambert then urges Frank to feed on Joey, but Frank surprises him by stabbing him with a stake, causing Lambert to explode. Abigail arrives, and Frank overpowers her, drinking her blood. Meanwhile, Joey recovers, finds the control panel, deactivates the mansion's security measures, and retrieves her phone. She tries to escape, but the exit remains locked. As Frank finishes feeding on Abigail and discards her body, Joey calls her son, leaving him an emotional voicemail. Just then, Frank finds her, and they fight in the library as he brutally throws her around. Joey attempts to defend herself, but her attacks are ineffective. Frank grabs her by the neck and slams her down, only for Abigail to intervene, too weakened to defeat Frank alone but urging Joey to help her in exchange for freedom and a chance to reunite with her son. Joey and Abigail team up to fight Frank, but his strength proves overwhelming. He pins Joey to a pillar with a stake, then goes after Abigail, biting her again as she reminds Joey of their promise. Once Abigail collapses, Frank pulls Joey off the stake and bites her before tossing her aside. As she wakes up, Frank tries to compel her to kill Abigail, but Joey fakes obedience, using the moment to push Frank and give Abigail an opening to attack him. While Frank is distracted, Joey grabs the stake and pulls him down. Together, she and Abigail drive the stake into Frank, making him explode. Afterward, Joey fears she may still transform, but Abigail assures her she won't because Frank is dead. Honoring her promise, Abigail lets Joey go, urging her to find her son. As Joey heads for the exit, she's startled when Laser himself appears, grabbing her shoulder. He introduces himself, revealing that he's gone by many names over the centuries and intends to kill her. But Abigail intervenes, vouching for Joey, who saved her life when Laser was absent. In gratitude, Laser releases Joey, who hurries to her van, finding a lone lollipop. She eats it as she drives away, savoring her freedom and the chance to reunite with her son. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.